Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right into things today because we are diving deep into the hidden science of how a child's brain is truly built. We're going to take some pretty complex neuroscience and psychology, and we're breaking it all down into actionable everyday habits. We often look at brilliant thinkers and just kind of assume their minds are the result of a lucky roll of the genetic dice. But as we're about to uncover, the architecture of a genius is actively constructed. It happens day by day, word by word.
So is intelligence born, or is it built? Have you ever wondered why some children become these extraordinary thinkers and problem solvers, while others really struggle, even when they're given the exact same school, the same teachers, and the exact same opportunities? Well, for generations, society has debated whether intelligence is just something you're born with, or if it's something that can actually be built from the ground up. The traditional view told us that your capability was basically locked in from day one, but modern neuroscience, it paints a completely different and honestly incredibly empowering picture.
And that brings us to the core of what we're talking about today. Science says IQ is not fixed. Seriously, this is a massive paradigm shift. A child's brain is not like a computer hard drive with some preset storage limit. It is a living, breathing, totally dynamic organism. It literally grows stronger, denser, and faster depending on a whole bunch of factors: their environment, the quality of their sleep, the conversations they have, and their sense of emotional safety. It turns out really small daily habits can actually skyrocket memory, creativity, confidence, and raw problem-solving power.
Okay, let's get into Section 1, the truth about child IQ, and specifically the critical window of development. 90%. Just think about that staggering number for a second. By the time a child reaches age 5, their brain has reached almost 90% of its adult size. The biological growth happening between ages 0 and 7 is the absolute fastest it will ever be in their entire life. We're talking millions of neural connections forming every single second. That means the love you show them, the curiosity you encourage, the playtime you allow, and the conversations you share, these aren't just cute passing moments. They are physically, literally shaping the biological structure of the brain during this incredibly critical window.
Moving on to Section 2, building strong neural pathways, or the biology of learning.
It helps to think of the brain's neural connections as a vast, super complex road system. Every single time a child solves a puzzle, or hears a new word, or asks a really deep question, or even just imagines a story, a brand new pathway is created right there in the brain. It's kind of like laying down dirt paths in a wild forest. At first, it's just a faint trail, but the more that specific road is used, the more it gets paved. It turns into a local road, then maybe a highway, and eventually a lightning-fast superhighway. So the more a child exercises their curiosity, the stronger and faster their brain's processing speed actually becomes.
Let's look at how this plays out in real life. Standard parenting often relies on simple commands, right? Something like, eat your food. Now, sure, it gets the job done, but it definitely doesn't build a neural highway. Smart parenting, on the other hand, shifts to open-ended inquiry, asking something like, why do you think healthy food helps the body? This simple little shift in how we talk to kids is an absolute game changer. It activates their reasoning, it expands their vocabulary, and it triggers critical thinking. Rich, engaging conversations literally build a smarter brain because they force the child to actively use those neural roads to formulate an answer.
Which brings us to Section 3, daily habits for brain growth, the actual builders of intelligence.
I absolutely love this concept. Every story becomes a workout for the child's brain. Reading aloud to children is straight up one of the most scientifically proven ways to fuel memory and creativity. When a kid listens to a story, they have to actively use their imagination to visualize the characters and build the world in their head. That visualization is an intense mental workout. Actually, just 20 minutes of reading aloud every day dramatically improves language processing, emotional intelligence, focus, and, not surprisingly, future school performance. So, what does an optimal daily routine look like if you want to maximize this brain growth? Well, first up, morning sunlight exposure and positive conversation. This sets the circadian rhythm and primes the brain for learning. Second, the afternoon should really be dedicated to creative play, things like Legos and puzzles. This is when those neural superhighways we talked about are actively being paved. Third, evening family discussions to build emotional intelligence and reasoning. And finally, nighttime storytelling and early, consistent sleep. And honestly, that last one is absolutely crucial. Sleep is the exact time when the brain consolidates all the memory from the day and literally washes away neurotoxins. Without good sleep, the roads we built all day simply won't set.
Here's another daily habit, and this one comes straight from the brilliant psychological research of Carol Dweck. Praising innate talent by saying things like, "You are so smart." Well, it actually makes children afraid to fail, because if they fail, they immediately think, "Uh-oh, I guess I'm no longer smart." But if you praise their effort, saying, "I love your effort," or "Wow, you worked really hard on that," it creates remarkable resilience. It builds what we call a growth mindset. It teaches a child that their brain is like a muscle, and that challenges aren't threats. They are just opportunities to grow stronger.
Now for a bit of a plot twist. Section 4. Mistakes that lower intelligence, or the destroyers of capacity.
These are the things that secretly sabotage a child's IQ. Excessive short video screen time totally destroys attention spans and weakens deep thinking. We already know a lack of consistent sleep prevents memory consolidation. But look closely at the psychological mistakes here: shaming mistakes and suppressing curiosity. Highly intelligent children naturally ask a million questions. When we punish a kid for asking too many questions, or when we overemphasize getting perfect marks instead of actual learning, we are suppressing their dopamine. We literally destroy their biological motivation to learn and explore.
And this leads us to Section 5, the power of emotional safety, the true foundation of genius.
There is a very direct, undeniable connection between a child's emotions and hard biological science. Fear and stress raise a hormone called cortisol. When children are constantly criticized or shouted at or compared to their peers, their brain is just flooded with cortisol. And that has a devastating effect on a developing mind. It physically weakens the brain's ability to form memories, it completely stifles creativity, and it shatters their confidence. A child simply cannot process high-level information when their brain is stuck in survival mode.
I want you to just take a second and let this powerful statement sink in. Curiosity creates intelligence. Fear destroys it. A truly intelligent child is not created by immense pressure or endless tutoring or harsh discipline. No, they are created by unbridled curiosity, healthy daily habits, and above all, an environment where thinking is celebrated and they feel entirely safe to make mistakes.
So, we arrive at our final thought. As you guide the children in your own life, will you just hand them the answers to memorize for a test, or will you teach them how to actually think? The ultimate goal isn't just to raise a kid who scores high marks, but to nurture a resilient, creative human being who can adapt, solve problems, and truly thrive in the real world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I really hope it transforms the way you look at a developing mind. Keep asking those big questions, keep building those neural pathways,